I'm going to put my...
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Friday, November 22nd, 2024, as we come together as something we call Friday Night Disclosure. Yeah, we've got a lot of beautiful people to talk about here today, folks. We've got a great UFO hearing that really blew our minds. Apparently, we were on the spot where it actually is. How about that, friends? Let's jump into the studio and see where the heck we're at. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Friday night edition of Disclosure Tonight. Yes. Oh, we told you it was going to be a nothing burger, but there was so much shit. It's a something burger, my friends. Just pinch your nose and we'll have a fun time talking about the beautiful people who are at the UFO hearing, my friends. On that note, let's go ahead and take a look out there and see who the heck we have out in our audience. Who do we have out there, folks? Let's go ahead and take a look. But wait, one more. Hold on, my sound effects are not running. Welcome to what's known. There's Freezer Man there. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's kick that back. Oh, my gosh. Let's have some fun. Where are the drums, folks? Yeah, all right. Sound effects are a little loud. Even in for my audience here and for me. Turn that down. Turn this back up again. OBS is behaving. I figured that one out. Yeah, I upgraded to the latest version. And, well, let's just get to it and have some fun. Who the heck do we have out there? Happy Friday, everybody. Let's see who's in the audience. AJ's here along with Andy W. Badger's here from Bothell. Bothell Badger. Yeah, Bothell Badger sounds good. Bradley's here. Brian Morgan, along with Brian Pemble. Heard you were on a space with Logan and LM, Brian. Eli McGinnis is around. Fink Ployd, Frankenstein. Remember, everything was recorded and shared. J Cat's around along with Kathy. Kelly Broad, nose piercing blue eyes. King Bull's around along with Niles Guy. FaZe Will is here along with Shelley Montgomery, the super unknown Tets, the Chromosome Cowboy. Would you look at that? We've got Tony D and then Wildcat Mahone. Bringing up there. Now, one little thing, Brian. The only person there's only a few people who have given $100 super chats, and two times, my friend, that was your buddy LM. Just saying. So no matter what you agree to, we've got you, my friend. We've got you. How about that? On that note, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and take a look. Who in the heck we have in the back? Well, we got a bunch of people in the back here. Let's go ahead and welcome our first friend coming in all the way from the United Kingdom. Andy W., how the heck are you, my friend?
Hey, Thomas, happy Friday from chilly England.
Yeah, you've had snow twice already.
We had it once.
Once? Not twice?
Yeah, we had it once. It's 38 Fahrenheit and raining at the moment, so it's quite chilly out.
Well, you're a little bit further south, Bristol area. Up in the Birmingham area, they've had snow twice already.
Oh, lucky you, Gary, yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? Even if you get a little bit out there, go out there with the kids and roll up what's out there to create even the smallest snowman you can. Creates memories, my friend.
Yeah, they did it. I didn't. Not this time.
Well, there you go.
Maybe if we get any more.
Well, there you go, my friend. Thank you for coming in here today, as usual. Well, let's take a look who else we have there. We got Freezer Man 71. How's it going, Freezer Man?
I'm doing good, Thomas. Great to be.
Great to have you around here as well, my friend. Who else do we have there? All the way from the upper Midwest, we have our remote viewing targeter. The person who let us know that there was a live stream going on with Lee and LM and Brian. With Logan, how about that? Let's welcome in our dear friend Laura Campbell. No, it wasn't her, but it sounds perfect.
You rascal. Getting me in trouble. I share more of the good stuff in the back anyway, so you know that.
Of course, you're our dear friend who lets us know what's coming in the far future. Maybe not tomorrow or today, but you know what? Thank you for being here, Laura.
My pleasure.
Wonderful to have you around. Also in the back, would you look at that? We have another one of our friends, Rick Roberts. How's it going, Rick?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Oh, doing great, my friend. Doing great. Looks like you're dragging around a little bit. So I understand that one, my friend. Absolutely. Thanks for coming in. Absolutely. And talking about Dragnet, let's welcome in our dear friend, Mike. Mike, Disclosure. Mike, happy Fuck You Friday.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. Yes, happy Fuck You Friday to you too.
Yes, it's an FU Friday today because as I was getting ready for the show, I had Luke pop in and say, "Hey, Thomas." All right, Tom. Hey, baby. The dishwasher popped open when it was done. What's wrong with it? Went up there, closed it, popped it open. Oh, it needs some more parts.
It always needs parts. It's always something.
Oh, it's gone for many years, but it just needs about $150 worth of parts. It's either $150 worth of parts, Mike, or multiply it by 10.
Yes.
And it'll be $1,500 for a new dish. Well, over $1,000 for a new dishwasher.
Not worth it. Just get the part and fix it.
Yes, exactly. Go to YouTube, type in the part number followed by what's wrong, and you'll get the exact video you need to go ahead and do the household repairs like a man can do.
That's true. Also, ChatGPT will do the same thing.
Yes, it will.
It'll
tell you what buttons you have to press on your espresso machine while throwing up a gang sign to get it to go into freaking service mode so you can get it adjusted to the way you want it to be. How about that?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a lot for our audience tonight to talk about.
Oh, we do. There's a new beauty for us all to look at. It's the kind of person. It's the kind of person. I know I'll get in trouble for this one, but I'll say it because it's my show. It is the kind of person who defined the word coyote ugly, meaning if you woke up next to bed with this individual, you would rather chew off your arm than wake it up as you're trying to sneak out of the house. More likely than not. It's the kind of person you reach down to the pants and realize, oh my God, it's not a dude. Who are we talking about, Mike? Well, we're talking about the one, the only. Hello, Susan Goff. My God. I don't know what she's been doing in the beauty treatment, but she has gotten more and more beautiful as the days go on.
That's not a face that she would want to put on her cookbook, would it?
No, and actually the other person we thought was a cookbook, that clearly wasn't Susan Goff because she's 10 times more beautiful than this charm. My God, what a beauty. As Trump would say, what a beauty.
He wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I know. Wow. Yeah, she was there right behind John Kozlowski in the hearing, making all of these leering looks. Whatever he was saying, she was just looking off to the side. What is it these days? Anyone from AARO, wherever they go, they have her toting the chain for these people going along?
Oh, you have no idea. Listen, the previous director, at 10th, after Kirkpatrick left, Tim Phillips, he recently, after the hearing, was talking about all of these whistleblower claims of secret government programs. He wants them to show him the proof. As far as he's concerned, AARO thinks they don't exist. So he's towing the line for Susan Goff and her psyop.
Well, I think the easiest thing to do at this point is to take Gillibrand and her little RO and show it to the door. Because if you look at the hearing, how many people showed up for the hearing? Gillibrand and one other senator, that's it. How many people do we have in the Senate? We have 100. And what do we have? We had 2 Dems show up for Gillibrand's hearing, which really shows, even though you've got Chuck Schumer, and who's the other guy sponsored UAPDA?
Mike Rounds. 2 people who are really in support of UAP disclosure, can't even get any of them to show up. Could they be scared away by Susan being there? I don't know. It's a combination of things. There's no interest anymore at this point.
Well, if you look at that picture, there'd be no interest, but...
Oh, no, none.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. And On top of the hearing, denial, all the different stuff saying there's nothing, there's nothing. Oh, we do have 2-3 cases which are truly anonymous, but we can't give you any details. And any of the videos we have, we can't share them with you anyway because they would potentially disclose information that could be used by our adversaries that could identify weaknesses in our
That's
defense.
such horse shit. You pointed out countless times that when we had Russian fighters dumping fuel on our drones, they had no problem showing us that footage.
Same day.
Right.
Within hours, they showed
Right.
it.
Exactly. It's all bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As we would say.
Which would apply to just about any director of AARO. They really need to get rid of that organization.
Yeah, but I know, we do have a statement here from AARO as to what their UA report represents.
We ain't found shit.
That's it. You hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what it says.
We've got 2 quotes here we use frequently to go ahead and discuss, what's going on with AARO. But we do have a theme song for Susan Goff, which we've had for a long time.
Oh, yeah. A wicked witch.
Oh. Yeah.
She is a witch.
Oh. I think the Wicked Witch was actually prettier. Aside from the green makeup and all. She was more feminine. Right. Even with the pointy chin.
Yep. You're right.
Yeah, now people say, oh, my God, we can't go ahead and make fun of them. Oh, yes, we can, because we pride ourselves about not being serious. Andy, your thoughts? Your hands up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's being a bit horrible to the Wicked Witch. At least she had one good thing. She could go away with water.
True. And got that new movie Wicked that came out today, and everyone is going to watch it. Gary actually spent like $80 for him and his husband to go ahead and watch that show today. My God, it's just one of these things, and it's just one more time, folks. I'm a glutton for punishment. There you go, Andy. This is the kind of person you wake up, you go to escape. Oh, I'm not going to go to that point. I can't go to that point. Yes, Ozzy Osbourne. I would say Marilyn Manson would actually walk away from that one. Yes.
It's awful. It's a shit show.
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And the Badger's saying, yes, I'd actually be surprised because you go reach in the pants of someone like that, you think it's a dude, and you're surprised it's not. I said it before. I said it again. Yes, you got to have fun with it. So, Mike, after that hearing and that nothing burger, all we can say is AARO's a wash. We're wasting a lot of money. It's a pet project of, who do you call it? It's a pet project of Senator Gillibrand. There's no support from anyone else in the Senate. Let's just shut the thing down and just move it away. Let's shut it down and let's get down to what's going on in the House. Because there's been statements that have come out from people in the House saying, we have nothing to do with that shit that's going on, with that stuff that's going on in the Senate. Separate us from that, please.
Oh, at the very least. Do you remember how many people would say back when Kirkpatrick left, oh, Tim Phillips is coming in. Let's give him a chance. And then after that was a disaster. Kozlowski, let's give him a chance. No, we're at the point we don't need to give them a chance anymore. That's how I see it.
Give her a second chance to win a beauty contest. It's never going to happen. But where are my bookmarks on this one? We're talking about this one. I actually have a... Okay. I do have a statement from Christopher Mellon today on Twitter talking about...
being a grifter.
About AARO. No, I wouldn't. No, he's got enough money. He doesn't need to be a grifter, my friend. Just saying.
No, he made a comment about being a grifter because he finally released how much money he got paid from his X account. It was a whole whopping $26.42.
Yeah,
so he said, I'm grifting.
He doesn't do farming engagement. Let's be honest. We're looking at people like that, like Jay Anderson and people like that from Project Unity, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, those are people who are putting out, they're taking content from other people, putting it out there with a misleading, controversial statement to get people to engage in their tweets. I hope it's working for you well, Jay. So
actually, he hasn't been working too well for him. It's starting to wear thin.
Well, that's a good thing. We all love Jay so much, don't we? All right. Oh, we love Jay. We love Jay so much, I tell you. Let's get into this. Coming to us from Christopher K. Mellon. I've been pursuing this further today. I was told by a former UAP task force member who retains access to the data that there is satellite imagery that remains anomalous, at least of a few weeks ago. Remember, the information we got in that UAP hearing from AARO was about 8 months old, 9 months old. Actually, no, about 5 months old, give or take, because it went up through June of this year. So July, August, September, October, November. It's 5 months old. So they have data that remains anomalous as far as a few weeks ago. The individual saw the report and emphasized that it clearly identified the objects as UAP. I also contacted a former Senate staffer today who confirmed that earlier requests for this information were denied. Although I know Congress has now received documentation, just not videos or pictures, because you can't have that. We don't trust you. Which I hope is thorough and complete. However, in speaking with a separate administration official this afternoon, it appears that there is still some disagreement and confusion about the dates. Let's call it misinformation and disinformation about the dates, the number of incidents involved, and the assessment of the object in the reports. I'm working to get to the bottom of this. Oh, in other words, Mike, it sounds like AARO's not being truthful. Are you surprised? Because I'm sure as not.
No, I'm absolutely not surprised, which is why we're back to they really need to get rid of this organization once and for all. It's a disinformation operation. It's a flypaper operation. They have been doing nothing but disinformation and covering everything up. They need to stop funding it. They need to close it down.
Yeah. Stop. This is I guess we could bring in the Office of Government Efficiency and say, hey, AARO, based on the money you're getting, are you efficient? Oh, you're clearly not. Let's shut you down. Let's just declassify all that information you've been trying to keep from the American people.
Yeah.
So
we need to send him a tweet in his new office. Yeah.
Let me continue. This is not an example of the current AARO team withholding information. Well, yeah, it is. Rather, it's an example of the kind of issues, problems, and confusion between AARO and Congress that have been commonplace in the past. Hopefully, under Dr. Kozlowski, such issues will soon be a thing of the past. Well, Kozlowski's been there almost 6 months at this point. I am going to go ahead and go against what Christopher Mellon is saying here in saying this is, I'm not going to call it confusion. I'm going to call it purposeful misinformation and disinformation that's been put out there. Now, Mike, you had said something about Timothy Phillips, haven't you?
I did.
Who was the interim director of AARO, right?
Yes, he was.
So Timothy Phillips, he is a him. Let's fire that son of a... Well, he already is, but yeah. Hopefully to look... Why is Timothy Phillips that's right. We had the Biden administration. Hope to look at the evidence of unreported UAP programs provided during today's UAP hearings. Heard a lot of inaccurate claims based on what people wish was true, not the evidence we have. So Tim Phillips is still being a toady to the cover-up. Go figure. Zach Agee says, can you elaborate on which claims you believe are accurate? Oh, you know where I think this is at? I think this is over on the schmuck site known as LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's correct.
And Mike, how much does it cost a month to actually be able to post and reply to these kind of messages?
$100 a month.
$100 a month. There's no the only reason Timothy Phillips is on there is because it limits how much information come out. Let me continue. that the DoD and IC are hiding evidence of programs to recover and exploit UAPs, that there is a file containing high-resolution footage of UAPs being concealed from oversight, that we have withheld satellite imagery of UAPs that prove their claims. None of their claims are true. The satellite imagery of UAP is not a UAP. This case was resolved and remains classified to protect ISR capabilities. There are 12 oversight committees. Well, if there's 12 oversight committees, Mike, why aren't they sharing the information?
Because they weren't given the information directly. That's why. These oversight committees do not have possession of this information. I doubt it.
It seems to be, my friend.
They're hiding this information from Congress, the public, and everybody but anyone who's read in on these programs.
Laura Campbell, you have your hand up, my dear lady.
Yes, there was a wonderful discussion about the counter to this. The scientists from the SCU, which is the Scientific Coalition of UAP Researchers, particularly Robert Powell, he did papers on both the Aquavila, Puerto Rico case, and also the Nimitz Princeton F-18 encounter. And when I say they researched it, they unbelievably researched it. So his paper was all countering, making fun of the current, other competitor who's claiming there's nothing to see here. They analyzed it to the point where you could actually see they had every second from satellite where it was located, how high it was. You would not believe the level of research that went into it. So they're smirking at what's going on right now.
Oh, they're beyond smirking. They are besmirching for that one on that point. But if anybody out there wants to see an explanation of what took place at the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico site, this is a website that has been noted by both Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon for the expertise and the information that came out. It's at www.uaptheory.com. And there's a group of science people who have gone through the entire Aguadilla, Puerto Rico incident frame by frame. And they've gotten down to that what we saw was an Einstein ring. Some of the stuff was similar to something called an Einstein cross. To deal with information to where we're seeing duplication of the objects. And they get into this here, let's get into duplication where one object then turns into two. And what we're dealing with is because there is a gravitational warp field going around the craft, Laura, that depending on the direction of the movement and the position of the observer to that person, the light is wrapping around the object, coming out the other side. Sometimes it'll be duplicated, like we're seeing here. Sometimes it'll go invisible because the light from the object, what you're seeing, is actually being wrapped around from the other side of the object and being projected towards the observer. That there is background lensing, meaning that we're seeing the actual background around the object being magnified, and lensing effect like you see in an Einstein cross, meaning when you have a huge gravitational field from a galaxy, you'll see something off in the distance and you'll see magnification going on. You're seeing duplication, not really invisibility, but all these different things are all phenomena that have been detailed initially by Einstein back in the day. And this is where we're actually seeing these things going on here on our planet, and not necessarily having to look at a deep space telescope to get to that same results. Now, oh, wow. Oh,
that sounds like Jack Sarfati. He's talked about that a lot too.
Yeah.
When you see the double images.
Yeah, would you look at that? IMO, Eric Rothenaguru said, in my opinion, we will continue to go in circles until we get some serious leg isolation to protect, etc. Whistleblower. Well, would you look at that? In response to the stuff that was said on that Twitter space with Lee and Brian, he actually said, now there's a super chat above $100. A la The Price is Right. How about that, Mike? Are you surprised? I certainly are.
I am. That was amazing that Brian did that. Hey, you didn't have to do that, dude. But we appreciate it.
I know.
Fantastic.
I was giving him shit ahead of time because they were giving, on that space, they were giving shit about Rick Doty going and giving super chats for $100 and trying to say that he's bribing us or whatever you want to call it to have him on the show. No, Rick is a nice guy. Outside of the show, Rick is a nice guy. He comes in, he talks about the stuff, we listen to what he says, and heck, we even have a disclaimer at the start of the show for people who want to read it. Right, Mike?
That's right. Anyone is welcome to voice their opinion.
Yeah.
And Rick is polite, and he's a nice individual to come on. So we have a good conversation. Has nothing to do with any payment.
No.
So those claims are false, as always.
Yeah.
Same shit.
Yeah. So back to this wonderful document. So UAPtheory.com. They even talk into about how the object goes underwater and how they can see it and how it pops above water. And coming from John Kozlowski, he even went and said, no, this wasn't transmedium. It was completely a fact. Someone who is a contractor for the intelligence community went and put together a simulation to prove their observations. I have to ask, Mike, do you wonder if that person who they proved to do the simulation could have been Mick West?
Probably. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Who else would that be?
I don't know, but you know what? Again, UAPtheory.com. Wonderful site. The guy's name is Thor, who runs it. They've put a lot of time into this, and they even have FLIR footage in here talking about different stuff from the Tic Tacs, from the Go Fast, and other evidence going into it, and give us a great conclusion. So if you want to really learn about how advanced UAPs work in our atmosphere, how the gravitational field goes, and what are all the things we're observing from it, that goes well beyond anything we saw with the Tic Tacs at the Nimitz. What, didn't they throw the Nimitz incident under the bus too, Mike?
We're getting a super chat train. We got another $100 super chat from Liz W.
Thank you, Liz. Holy shit. Really appreciate you and your panel's expertise and frank discussions. Thank you very much. Would you look at that? It's not even from Rick Doty, and it's $100.
Nope.
Thank you, Liz W. Wow. Talk about a super chat.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I could be like the neighbor on Tool Time with Tim Taylor. Hey, Wilson. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How about that? Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So, again, we're hearing shit coming from the DOD. Are you surprised? I'm not.
No, not at all. It's typical. This is the same crap coming from them like we've been getting for, 77 years now?
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
Yeah, but this has.
The super chats did. That's a good thing.
Mike, look, this has changed. We have now the...
Oh, God.
I can't believe they put her up there like that. My God.
That was the secret weapon when they were interrogating the terrorists in Guantanamo.
Yeah.
They showed them her picture.
Oh, Mike, I'm going to do it, but I'll probably be sorry, but I'll do it anyway. You got to wonder. Hold on. Let me get in here. Did she have neck surgery? Is that a pair of balls or is that a gobble gobble?
It's not good.
Oh, I know people are going to say, how dare you go ahead and say that stuff? Well, she deserves it. Anybody deserves it. Well, turning our sights, actually, you know what? Coming in from that, I think we've got what we have. There was an AARO briefing that happened right before a media briefing, right before the hearing that took place. And to be honest, there was more stuff that was actually disclosed. At least this is what Corporal Abe, who just joined us back again, had said. Mike, we've got about 28 minutes. Should we play that clip?
Yes, please do.
Oh, my God. And there we go. Someone took my shoe. $10. Thank you for necessary dialogue. Appreciate it. Especially with the tax rates in Canada. Man, I appreciate it. You know, Mike, they have, I saw a bill from someone on Twitter today. They have their gas bill for the gas used was $25 Canadian. Right?
Right.
The amount of tax they paid on that $25 for natural gas being delivered to heat their home was $27 Canadian, a federal tax.
You got to be kidding.
No, and there was another tax on top of it for like $23. So their gas bill that should be $25 actually work out to be over $75 Canadian. That's how much our friends above the border are getting screwed by the socialist policies of their unfortunate leader, Justin Trudeau.
They got to get Trudeau the fuck out of there.
Yeah, Michael Sokoloff, you have your hand up, my friend.
You should see the electrical bills.
Is it worse?
$20 for electricity, and you'll end up paying something like $120 to have it delivered to your house.
What?
Oh, it's insane.
Natural gas has a delivery fee of like $5 Canadian, but electric.
These are regulations that were put in by the conservatives years ago.
Well, if your current government
you
cared,
can't blame it on Trudeau.
Well, if your current government cared, they would wipe that stuff out. But hey, you know what? You're getting a $250 check for Christmas spending. Are you happy?
Sure. You know who else did that? Ralph Klein did that back in the 80s when he was the premier of Alberta. He gave everybody $500 or $100. I can't remember what it was. It was quite a bit. It must have been a $500 bill. But
yeah.
So you go out and do your Christmas shopping, and he was a conservative.
Yeah.
So this isn't the first time this has happened in politics in Canada, you know.
Yeah,
so,
I know, my friend. I know.
Hey,
so are you a supporter
shoe?
of Trudeau's? Just so I know.
What's that?
Are you a supporter of Trudeau? So I know.
Actually, the only reason I'm supporting Trudeau is because I don't want the NDP to be in charge, and I don't want the Conservatives to be in charge. You know, I mean, every time the Conservatives get in there, they land up laying me off on my job.
Well, wait a minute, you're retired, aren't you?
For 12 years, they laid us off. After a 12-year stint with this university, they laid us off because of the housing crisis, is what they said. But it really had nothing to do with the housing crisis. They just wanted to get rid of the union and everybody that was in it.
But aren't you retired now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course,
okay,
I'm retired now. So now all I got to worry about is Pete Villiers winning the election and taking my pension away.
Yeah. We'll see where that goes. So fingers crossed for you, my friend. Fingers crossed.
Damn it.
Yeah. Hey, at least they're going to go ahead and slow down immigration in the country because they realize they've done a wrong thing.
Yeah. Who stole my shoe? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Look at your Twitter feed.
My Twitter feed?
Yeah,
I will search for who stole my shoe, my friend. I promise.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the back if you want.
Please do. Yeah, we'll check it out in a bit.
Yeah, there. It's about 30 seconds long.
All right. Who stole my copy, link, address? Let me get to my downloader here. Let me, no, not there.
This is the joke of the day, I'll tell you.
Where is this from? What's it tell? So I don't get in trouble.
Wait a second.
So the police catch a sneaky weasel stealing shoes at a kindergarten. Really?
It's from the Washington Post.
Oh, it's is that a weasel or is that?
That's a weasel.
Oh, nice.
He took like 55 shoes or something.
Good for it. You know, and I wouldn't call it a weasel. It almost looks like a, oh God, what are those things called? They live in the water. Not a badger, but either way, yeah. Fun stuff. Granted, great they were about to catch it. So,
Otter.
Mike.
You're thinking of an otter.
An otter, yes.
Or a beaver.
Yeah. No, not a beaver. That'd be an otter.
Otters look a lot more like weasels than beavers.
Yes. I'd say Brock would be more of a beaver than an otter. But you never know. No, he's a badger, so close enough. He probably bites. Which could be a good thing for some people. We'll figure that one out.
Speaking of beaver, you have this clip with Nancy Mace.
Yes, how about that? We got a clip here with Nancy Mace talking with Joe Cahill from, we could go to the AARO press conference. We'll get that one done in a bit. But until then, let's go ahead and play Nancy Mace here talking with Joe Cahill about the UFO hearing that actually made some traction. So let me go ahead and get this one going. I'll put it on full video. Here we go, folks.
Involve what kind of technology, propulsion, underwater, sea or air, etc. The topic of people being injured and compensated for their injuries, allegedly in a crash retrieval program, etc. That to me these are details, and they're small, but they're big. These are small details that actually make a big difference in this overall broader conversation. And certain things shouldn't be classified. The amount of money we spend on some of these programs shouldn't be hidden from the American people. They don't maybe necessarily have to know the technology that's being utilized in some of these programs, but how much money we're spending, what are we spending it on? Those things are important to this broader conversation about how the U.S. government and your tax dollars are being spent. And why hide it? Why lie to the American people about it? And that's what gets me, is I enter everything as a skeptic. And the American people have been lied to over and over again on this topic.
Yeah. So there were a couple of moments that stood out to me. I'm going to throw a couple your way. There was that moment where you were talking to Lou Elizondo, and you had this sort of rapid fire yes or no, and you asked him point blank, is there a crash retrieval program of UAPs? He answered yes. You asked him right after that, is this program meant to reverse engineer, in your words, alien craft? And he said, under oath, yes. So what are you taking in that moment? Like, what goes through your mind when you hear somebody who is literally testifying after taking an oath who says something like that?
You're sort of awestruck. I mean, all of the witnesses were under oath. And you're awestruck by the admission that this is what's going on. And it's surprising, and in some ways it's really shocking. It's groundbreaking. And now I'm even more curious. I got a stack of files dropped off to my office on Friday. I spent the weekend pouring through unclassified government documents about some of these programs. And so it leaves us with more questions than answers. And now it's sort of a two-step process. One is about disclosure. What can be disclosed? When can it be disclosed? The American people deserve some answers here. And then also, how do we protect whistleblowers? How do we get more information? How do we get people to come forward, credible witnesses to come forward? Because some of the witnesses we had last week, it wasn't firsthand. They're using government documents, government witnesses, whistleblowers, etc. But I would love to see some of these whistleblowers come forward with their firsthand accounts, especially former military, former pilots, people that are on submarines that have seen some of these things, these fast movers, whatever they.
Syrup, you have a quick comment?
I think if they could get some of these whistleblowers the proper clearances to get into a skiff, a lot of these questions that they have could be answered. But it's just so convenient that these whistleblowers can't get the proper clearances to get into a skiff, man. It's just so convenient.
Apparently during the conversation, after the hearing, they said they did have a couple whistleblowers who they wanted to come forward, but they couldn't get the proper clearance to have those whistleblowers go ahead and talk. So I hear where you're coming from. We hear a lot of the same BS time and time again from people when they're in the hearing. When they finally get there to talk about stuff, there's nothing new. It's the same stuff they've said so many times before. And I know for an audience who's educated, like I would say majority of our audience out there, it gets a little bit disheartening over the period of time. You know what I mean, Syrup?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It does. I get it.
All right, let's continue on. Here we go.
are, that they have nicknames for them when they're out to sea. It's interesting.
And I want to ask you about the challenges with getting whistleblowers to come forward. But the curious reporter in me cannot ignore that you said you got a bunch of documents that were dropped on your desk. So what kind of things? What kind of things are you seeing? What are you reading through? What are people sharing, with you on this?
Well, they're declassified government documents, some from the FBI, some from the U.S. DOD and U.S. military Army specifically, where there is an admission that there are things that they have seen that are unidentified, they can't identify them, that there is a program, that there are crash sites, that there are things being retrieved. In fact, I saw one note, it was between the FBI and I believe the U.S. Army, where there was a handwritten note saying, we will help with this program, we want access to the crash material, we want access to the site, we want access to the vehicle or whatever.
And who's that from?
That was from the FBI to the U.S. Army to DOD. You've probably already seen it. So some of this is actually new for me, and I'm learning, and I'm not, and from my perspective, it's like they continue to lie to us. Like there's that AARO report this year that said, actually, there's nothing that's unexplained. Well, scientifically, it's not zero. It can't possibly statistically be zero. So you know right off the bat, the U.S. government is lying to you. And so I'm fascinated by it. I think the details matter. There are small pieces of information that you'll see in a government document, and it seems like it's small, might be a word or a sentence, but actually it's huge meaning. Yeah. Huge meaning.
I mean, so there was another AARO report that came out the day after your hearing that even contradicted last year's AARO report. So you're right to, point that stuff out. I think.
I mean, scientifically, it can't be, there are going to be things that are unexplained. It could be a weapons program, it could be Russia, it could be China, it could be anything. It's not zero, though.
Right. And part of the problem is, again, as I said earlier in the broadcast, is that our DOD doesn't want to release any of this information or videos or details about it because they're afraid it's going to go ahead and disclose limitations of our defense capabilities. But the reality of it is we've never had any kind of domain over these type of craft, and neither has any other human civilization or any other country on this planet. So if they're worried about our adversaries finding out what the UAP have over us, they have over everybody. Let's continue.
Be a UAP, extraterrestrial thing. We don't know, but it's not zero. So when they say zero, they're lying.
And it doesn't have to be extraterrestrial. That's the thing. It could be ultra-terrestrial, meaning or ancient terrestrial, something that's been on this planet for a long time, even potentially longer than human civilization that may have been around. And it's a wordplay, my friends. It's a wordplay.
Right. And then, again, just last week, they've acknowledged actually there are several that we cannot explain at this point. So,
in fact.
Hundreds, right.
That we're,
So how significant is this that you now had David Grush last year among the witnesses who said, yes, I am aware, I've been given documentation about these crash retrieval programs. This year, again, you had Lou Elizondo, and, there were at least 3 witnesses out of the 4 who made similar claims, right? That they had evidence in some way, whether it's documentation or witnesses, that these things exist. After now a year and some change of hearing these kinds of things, having people drop stuff off on your desk, do you find these stories credible?
Many of them, yes. I mean, especially when I'm talking to a former service member, especially when I'm talking to someone who has seen something they can't explain. AARO has interviewed individuals and didn't include it in their report, right? And so you have to ask the question, the skeptic in you has to say, why is the government lying about this? And so I find the former U.S. military folks, the folks that were read into some of these programs, Lou Elizondo said last week he couldn't say, if he was not read into a program, I would imagine the answer would be no. But he can't affirm it publicly, I guess. But especially our military members, I've had military members of my family who've been pilots or been deployed and have seen things that they can't explain. And in years past, decades past, if those people came forward, they lose their jobs. And we want to create an environment where people are not ashamed. It could be easily explained away or not. And so if there are crash retrieval programs, I'd like to know how much money we're spending on it. Congress deserves to know that. If people are being compensated for their injuries due to exposure to whatever toxic chemicals, radiation, whatever at the crash sites, we ought to know that too.
Yeah.
Has anyone been really harmed? I've heard about potential TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, etc. Like, if they're being compensated for it, why lie about it? If there's no there.
What about the brain injuries that have taken place from people who are a part of science programs trying to find anti-gravity research, like that was recently accidentally, quote unquote, wink, wink, from Gary Nolan? Let's continue.
Yeah. Then why are we compensating people for something that doesn't exist? It's perplexing to me.
And also one of the key, I think, highlights of that hearing was when you brought that up, specifically that question to them. What we have not heard yet is from anyone who has said they have directly worked on these things, right? We've heard people who say, I've heard witnesses, or I've talked to them, but no one that has said, my hands have been on a craft or a piece of a craft, or I was directly firsthand, I'm a firsthand witness to this. Have you heard from those kinds of people in private settings? And is there an effort to try to get that kind of person to come forward in a congressional hearing setting in public?
Well,
that's the kind of question that should be asked at the hearings, my friends. Well, let's see what Nancy has to say.
That's why we want to protect whistleblowers. I've heard of individuals who would like to come forward but are scared or afraid, and so we have some work to do to protect people. Look what they did to David Grush. If you thought he was a nonsense witness, you were the government, and you thought he was not credible, then why violate his medical privacy and HIPAA and to have a smear story against him after he testified? If this guy is nobody and has nothing worthy to say, why would you go and destroy his reputation, right? And I think there are other people who are worried about the way that they'll be handled, and I totally get it. I mean, you've got a government that's run away drunk with power. Somebody has a title and they think they can ruin you, and they will, and they absolutely will. So we have some work to do there, getting whistleblowers to come forward. And like, I've gone into a skiff after the David Grush hearing last year. We all went into a skiff, and if you don't know the name of the program, you don't know what questions to ask about the program. And none of us are read into those programs. And it's all compartmentalized in a way, and the way that I understand it and have read into it and read between the lines, is that there are even government agencies that don't, even within the agency, they're not communicating because it's so compartmentalized. It's on a need-to-know basis.
In other words, they could be working on a program and they're not even aware of what they're working on?
Right, or part of a program. And not aware of the bigger picture. And if you don't know the name of the program, you don't get asked a question when you're in the skiff. And so that way, it's just one big circle. Nobody gets any answers, and you know that they're lying to you.
So is it fair to say you have not directly talked to someone who says, I'm a firsthand person who's worked on these programs, but you would like to? You'd like to encourage? I would like
to encourage whistleblowers to come forward. We have talked to people firsthand who have seen things, but none that have worked on a crash retrieval program, not to that extent, which is the next, I think, level, the next step, because we want people who've seen it and can say something from a first-hand experience, not a second-hand account. And it's really invaluable.
It's a huge challenge for you, I imagine, because we heard in that hearing multiple times some of the witnesses saying, I can't answer that question. I can do so in a private setting or classified setting. And I think a lot of that is because there are agencies that have not given them clearance to do so. I think that's probably part of the same challenge you have with whistleblowers coming forward too. So I don't envy you. That's a really hard task.
It's very difficult.
How do you get around it? How do you encourage whistleblowers to come forward?
Well, I'm hoping with the new administration that there'll be a more open-mindedness to disclosing things, even if it's a little bit at a time. I'd be okay with that. Maybe it would be dates that individuals saw certain events or unexplained aerial phenomena, the amount of money we're investing into some of these programs. More disclosure on this will be the best foot forward. And I think with the new administration, with the right mindset, we can make progress here. And that's what my hope.
Lou said, specifically Lou Elizondo said that there was this NDA that he signed specifically with crash retrievals. To me, that was another moment that stood out. And as Congressman Moskowitz pointed out, they made him sign a NDA about crash retrievals if Fight Club doesn't exist, there's no reason to not talk about Fight Club, right? I mean, that was the
bingo. That is the good point. That if this stuff doesn't exist, why are they so afraid of covering it up and putting all these security policies in place to prevent information from being shared if it doesn't exist? You know what I mean, Mike?
I could do an imitation of Nancy Mace right now and go, over and over again with every word you say, but that might be a little annoying to the audience. So.
Ooh. Some spite there, my friend. You're a little spicy tonight.
A little bit. It's Friday. It's Fuck You Friday.
Yeah, I know. Remind me again about that dishwasher, will you?
Yeah.
I had a washing machine go out, then I had to replace the dryer because it worked great, but it didn't match visually the washing machine.
Right.
If that's $1,000 I didn't need to spend, and now I got a dishwasher, at least I'm going to fix that one.
You got him.
But then I got the combination microwave oven that has the built-in fan that you can't get to unless you pull it out of the frickin' wall. Is making a horrible noise and it's dying a horrible death.
Of course it is. Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
And
just
then
like
some,
AARO.
my friends. And then some. Hey, Timmy Senor, thank you for the text messages. Let's continue on this great interview. Here we go.
Way that Moskowitz put it.
Right.
But isn't that in itself kind of a, if you can prove or if you have seen that this NDA exists, doesn't that sort of then confirm that the programs exist, right?
Right. And he didn't have a copy of the NDA, which I think was one of the questions because it was left in the skiff. When you're in a skiff, you aren't allowed to take documents with you.
Yeah.
Because that's illegal. That would be illegal to take classified information. If the NDA is classified, then he wouldn't be able to take it out of the skiff.
Mm-hmm. Is he able to share that with members?
I'm not sure. That's a great follow-up question.
Okay. Maybe. I mean, I don't know that could be something that was public, but I assume.
I would love to get in a skiff and see some of the NDAs that are allegedly out there.
Yeah.
I would love to, but you can't. I've been in the skiff. You can't take documents with you that are classified.
Yeah.
They have to stay. I leave all the notes in there. I don't ever.
Well, you could see them when you're in the skiff. I'd love to see the NDAs that were signed by people who are on the Nimitz. More importantly, the people who are on the E2 Hawkeyes, like AJ Heberlin, who had to sign an NDA after he got off the E2 Hawkeye after they encountered a Tic Tac within a matter of yards off the side of their craft. First the left side, then the right side, and then it was gone.
Yeah.
I'm not walking around with any classified folders ever.
That's a good policy to have.
Yeah.
But if you ever are, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay, moving forward now, you talked about the Trump administration incoming. I've heard a lot of people, regardless of their political affiliation, who are familiar with this issue, say that they are hopeful that maybe more disclosure is possible because some of the nominees, John Ratcliffe, for example, seem to be more open to that kind of thing. Are you hopeful? Have you by chance talked to someone like a Tulsi Gabbard? Or
I have communicated with folks that I believe will be going into the administration. We have overclassified information. We do it all over the place in every agency, and we should start putting more information out there. And with those that are going to be confirmed for some of these positions, I've already started communicating a desire to say, here's a way to disclose, having some kind of controlled disclosure. You don't have to say everything, but the American people, and especially Congress, we do deserve answers to some of this. What kind of money is being spent? How's it being spent? Are people being injured? Is there a retrieval program? Is this an arms race? And where are we? If this is an arms race, then where are we on? Are we winning it? What have we learned from it? There's a lot here to unpack, especially I sit on House Armed Services Committee. And agencies shouldn't be hiding technology from other agencies. We should be working together, right? So I have already started to have those private conversations.
Nancy again brings up a really great point that agencies should be working with each other, not being adversaries against each other. It just seems, Mike, the cover-up is so just incestuous that it's not getting anywhere.
And it's not going to. Because, look, the DOD has failed, 7 audits in a row?
Yeah.
The money is not accounted for. That's corruption at the highest level. Do you really think they're going to come clean and fix that? I don't.
Well, Vivek said like 8 months ago that if this stuff comes up, they're going to go ahead. He named UAP disclosure as one of the things, that and Kennedy and a whole bunch of other things that they need to bring forward and actually get the truth out there on. Irrespective of what's going on, they need to bring out the truth. And I think with our new president, number 45 and 47, Trump coming in, is going to deliver the truth on this.
I certainly hope so. We've been waiting long enough, and I would definitely like to see it, as
Because
I know you would.
I'll put my hand in fire on this one, as my ex-wife would say. Hello, Maria. I would go. I don't invoke that name too many times, because if I say that name 3 times, she will appear like a demon. Yeah, it's just one of the things you have to look at and say, it's one of those things, we're going to get to it, and they're going to bring out the truth. Fingers crossed for the entire, both sides of the fence, Republicans and Democrats alike, because we all deserve the truth, right, Mike? Doesn't matter what your party affiliation is, we all deserve the truth on disclosure.
Because disclosure is bipartisan, and it affects every man, woman, and child on the planet, regardless of political party.
Yeah.
So we all want and need the truth and transparency of what they've been covering up.
That is true, my friend.
Oh, I know. Interesting interviews so far with Khalil and Mace.
Yeah, it is. I'd have to say.
Yeah. That nervous tick of hers, though, she should learn to better control it.
That's okay.
Conversations with individuals, I believe, will be appointed to certain positions.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but I think it's important to ask it so viewers can see, can hear you. Do you think this is a national security threat?
Hey, Mike. In addition to that super chat for $101, I upped it by $1.
You did.
For $102 to myself. How about that?
Look at that. There's a new
Less
record.
30% to YouTube, which means it's money going out but coming back in. But you know what? I had to do it. $1 more.
You're not a top dog. You have the high mark.
Andy W., you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, I just want to ask, is that a bribery by a Thomas Fessler by any chance?
Am I bribing myself to talk about stuff? Well, potentially, yes. I just figured, why not? I can do it. I'm going to write it off at the end of the year. Why not? Although I lose 30%, I lose $30 to YouTube, but it's worth it just for the effect to say, yes, I outclassed everybody else. And Brian Pemble left. The back.
Yeah. That's interesting. He came and he went. He'll be back. He'll be back.
I just put $1 more. I had to do it just because. What the heck?
Might as well. When in Rome.
$102, less $30.
There it is.
That you all need to be read into.
I don't know if it's a threat, but it's certainly on our radar from a national security standpoint. Again, understanding what programs exist, why they exist, the technology that may or may not be involved, those are all national security issues. Congress should be made aware of that, particularly if you sit on House Intel and House Armed Services and Senate the same way. These are issues that we ought to be educated on as we're making decisions legislatively, as we're making, the DOD has an $800 billion budget. So, we ought to have a say in how these resources are being allocated.
Yeah. So what does, I guess, more disclosure to Congress look like? Is it just that you do have to wait for a CIA director who is more amenable to say, look, Congress needs to know about this, we're breaking the law? What does that look like?
Well, I think there are a lot of different agencies. It's not just...
Hey, Mike, have we got a nomination for the CIA yet?
I'm not sure. Well,
I asked Brian, but he's not here.
Oh, he's in the front chat. He jumped out of the back.
Brian, come back. Do we have a I don't think we have a nomination for the CIA director yet. We'll find out.
I'm checking.
Yeah.
The CIA, we're talking about DOD.
Brian, you're back. Yes. Do we have a person who's been nominated for the CIA?
Yeah, John Ratcliffe.
Exactly right. And this is great news.
So he's been very favorable. So, cross your fingers.
Yes, thank you for coming. I didn't mean to chase you out, my friend. With that.
Oh, no, you actually didn't. When I jumped in, there was no audio. I said, what's going on here? This is reminiscent of the Twitter space on the other night. So,
gotcha, my friend. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Let's continue on. Here we go. Are you enjoying this so far, my friend Brian?
oh yeah, this is great. And that, you know, it's easy to criticize Nancy Mace and everything, but you know, just the fact that people are talking.
Oh, come
about
on!
this
She's just trying to keep.
great.
She's just trying to keep dudes out of the women's bathrooms. Gotta give her props for that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Military, the Pentagon, folks who were briefed at the White House, the president has a say in this. But you know, there is a deep distrust by the American people of the American government, and for good reason. Mm-hmm. And so a little bit of disclosure would go a long way to restoring that trust. And if there's no there, then show it. But so far we've been lied to. Yeah. So something is there. And what is it? How much money are we spending on it? And what kind of programs? Because I do believe the way that it's compartmentalized, I do think that there are potentially leadership either in the military or even in the President of the United States where information is being hidden from them, and that's not right either.
And you have virtually no idea, if these programs do exist, how much money is being spent on them.
Right.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. I'm going to hit my limit here. The hearing itself, was there anything you heard that surprised you?
For me, it was the acknowledgement that a crash retrieval program exists, that people have been injured by it. You know, the names of the contractors that are allegedly involved. I mean, to me, that was the first time hearing that, and you take a step back and you sort of gasp, like, what are we talking about here? Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm looking at it, declassified historical documents where they're discussing, like outright discussing FBI and the Pentagon, who gets access to what from a crash site. I mean, it's fascinating, and it's like, well, they continue to shroud this by hiding it from the American people. We know something's going on, so what is it? To what extent? I think it's a very, limited number of programs, and at some point, you know, it's capped out, but we should know how much money is being spent. Is it 1 million or is it $1 billion? Yeah. Over the whole of the government.
Yeah. I've heard some of the witnesses, even those who just testified Thursday, say things to the effect of, they understand it is justified to keep some of this information classified. There are national security interests here. But how do you think the public would react if the Pentagon just said, you know what, these programs exist. These craft are real, they're on radar, we've seen them, and this retrieval program is real. How do you think the public would react?
I think they would take it confidently. I mean, to know that there's someone, that we have our eye on the ball, that we...
You know, Mike, I have to say, Nancy is pretty with it on this, and she's really toting the line of where things should be. Your thoughts?
No. You're right. She's not giving one-word answers. She's not changing the subject like most politicians do.
And she's not saying, it's a cover-up.
Right.
Like Tim Burchett says on a regular basis.
Right. He sticks to the same script, repeats the same points, and doesn't really buy off track from that. She, on the other hand, is doing this very fluidly. And is able to answer these questions and go with the flow. But I just have to put into context. She made a point about how the FBI had offered the Army to assist with a crash retrieval. And she didn't give any further information about that. She just made that point and moved on. I want to put that point she made into context. What she's referring to was the 1947 Roswell, New Mexico crash. And when that occurred, the FBI, and this is public information, had sent a letter to the Army at the time asking for information on that crash and looking to offer assistance. So she left that part of the context of the point she was making out. And I have a feeling the reason she did that is because if she made a point of dating of how far back this occurred, people would probably lose interest and not take it as something that's relevant or current for today.
Right.
So I had to clarify it for our audience because we always tell them the truth and they have a right to know what exactly she was talking about. That's it.
That's true, my friend. Absolutely. Because if you're not talking about the truth, we have someone to go ahead and look you down, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Let's continue on. Here we go. We're almost at the end of this conversation. Here we go.
We're learning from the technology, that we are advancing our technology based on what we're learning. I think that people would have greater confidence than the government gives them credit for.
And the program Immaculate Constellation, we know the name of it now. You said sometimes it's hard to ask questions when you don't know what the programs are.
Right.
The fact that we know of its existence now, how does that help you all in your sort of investigative role, oversight role into these programs?
Well, it gives us insight into next time we go into the SCIF and have another meeting about this to be able to ask it. But it's probably already been renamed something else, and we don't know the name of the program because these programs are renamed over years. But this is a program that's been around for decades, and you know. The way that they name the programs, if you don't know what they are, you don't know what to ask, and therefore it doesn't exist. That's how it works.
Last one. Are there plans for a follow-up hearing for the next one? What's your vision for the next one?
I would like the next Congress to continue having these conversations, to continue having hearings. I think the American people deserve that, but it's going to take more people coming forward. As you said, first.
Because a lot of the people who were asking questions, even coming down to Anapolina Luna, she was not happy with the answers of the questions that were being asked, right, Mike? She was very disappointed with the pass it off, we can talk about this in beyond this call, where Lou wouldn't answer questions with direct questions to bring out the truth, right?
Oh, yeah, you and I were talking about that live during the conference. So she's repeating the points that we made because everybody was frustrated at that. You're right. That's exactly what happened. And after the show, if you remember, we also covered the Immaculate Constellation documents, the 11 pages. And as we were
11
doing
pages that were written by Jeremy Corbell.
Right. As we were doing that, we pointed out that if these people truly came to this hearing to testify that they have nothing to say publicly, they should not have testified. No. It was a waste of time. So Luna was making those exact same points that we did.
Exactly. If we could, Syrup, you have your hand up, my friend?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I understand Luna's frustration. I was frustrated too, and I kind of agree with her. But it's like he said, he could answer it in a classified setting, in a SCIF, but they don't have the clearances to do that. Go after the people that are in charge of giving these guys the clearances they need to get in that SCIF.
But they didn't even say it needed to be done in a SCIF. They wanted to do it outside of the public hearing.
Okay, so
just pointing that out, saying they wanted to bring out the truth outside of the public hearing. Why are they so happy to go ahead and disclose this information to Nancy Mace directly, but they're not willing to disclose that information to the public?
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. The whistleblower law only allows them to do so much. They can't give that information unless it is in a closed setting, the way that law is written, correct?
Right.
That's correct, sir.
So maybe that has something to do with it. Again, that's it.
Just bringing that out and just saying she wanted to hear the stuff in the hearing. People say they want to give it out in private, but Nancy wants to hear the information for her constituents and the wide audience of the general public, not just behind closed doors.
And I can appreciate her for wanting to do that. I can. Definitely.
And Paul DeMond says, pile of horseshit. I agree completely. If this information can go ahead and brought out to members of Congress behind closed doors, that information should be brought out to the American public. Just saying.
It should.
But
100%.
Again, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but shouldn't that frustration be directed towards the people who didn't make that whistleblower law written the way it should have been written?
No, it's not nothing with whistleblower laws. It's about the people who are testifying before Congress. Period. If they're there and they're willing to say the stuff in private to not in a skiff, but in private, they're willing to go ahead and disclose this information to a member of Congress. They should be willing to disclose this information to the American public because we deserve to know the fucking truth about UFOs, period. And if you want to go ahead and just take it behind the people who, the pay-to-play aspect of it, go ahead and do it. But you're not even talking about a skiff. You're just talking about, I'll tell you about it. And then you can bring it out if you want. Just bring out the truth. Don't be so afraid to tell us the truth about UFOs. Period.
Yeah, I guess I'm not understanding. There's a disconnect, but we can talk about it later then.
Yeah, we can.
About the show.
Cool Jiu-Jitsu. Sure. You have your hand up, my friend.
Yes, how you doing, sir? My friend, yet again, he called me and he sent me a link to what you were talking about. And the only thing
been
that
on before, but yeah.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. The only thing I just want to say is, have any of you guys ever heard of a man named Benjamin Richardson? I don't know if you heard of him.
Nope, not a word.
Well, Benjamin Richardson, he used to work for Lockheed Skunk Works. He used to be in charge. And he was on 60 Minutes. And he literally told the world that we have technology that the government is never going to show us. And that we'll be surprised where this technology actually came from. This man was on 60 Minutes, and he said it in front of the whole world. So yet again, this goes back to when this guy named what is his name? Philip J. Corso. He wrote it in a book. Everybody has known this secret for years, you know. And it's just like I said, when the average regular Joe Smo finds out, that's when the government says, "Hey, you know what? Might need to start, you know, giving little tidbits here and there." But if you ever read the book Witness to Roswell, he told you the whole thing. Yeah. He told you. He told you.
Corso had a lot of good things in there with regards to that, and a whole bunch of different things which we've had our eyes open to in the past, my friend. But I thank you for bringing that up.
Oh yeah, no problem. And another thing too. I don't want to say, you know, but the thing is, you know, I'll kind of give this a little tidbit. You know, if you ever actually seen one, it'll blow your mind completely. You know.
Oh, I've seen them many times, my friend. I know what you're talking about. I am on a freeway right in front of my house. Seriously.
No, because the thing, like how I got in you know, UFOs and all that, because I was in the military, you know, and I actually worked on a aircraft carrier.
Really? Well, seriously, what part of the military you're in? Potentially, you may have been working along with Navy. Corporal Abe.
No, I was in the Navy, bro.
So was Corporal Abe.
Yeah, I was in the Navy, so you know, you out in the middle of the ocean.
Fessler, it's late. It's early here. This is my brother, and we both worked on the same ship.
Awesome. I had no idea, my friend. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, awesome. Whoa.
Small world, huh? Look at that.
We're in the same boat. So
yeah, we work on the same Nimitz class type of carriers. Awesome.
We were on the Eisenhower. And we saw some fucking shit. We saw some shit. One time we hit something underwater, and he'll tell you more about it. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, this is the fact, bro. This is the fact. Check this out, though. The only thing I'll say is that when you look at the stars in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean at night, it looks very interesting, you know, and that's the only thing that I really got to say about that.
Oh yeah,
you know, seeing is
we are afraid of the ocean.
Seeing is believing. Believe me.
Nice.
So cool. I believe the person that you were talking about earlier, his name is Ben Rich. He was the engineer. No, Ben Rich from Lockheed. He worked and developed the F-117 stealth fighter. And Thomas and I are well aware of who Ben Rich is. So you said Richardson. You said Richardson. before.
My fault, not Bob Richardson, but Ben Rich. He went on 60 Minutes. He was on 60 Minutes, bro, and he told the whole world. He said, it will take. He said, and this was his words exactly. He said it will take an act of God for the government to let out all the fun, cool stuff that we actually have.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a long time ago. He made that statement. But listen, we really appreciate your input, and any friend of Abe's is more than welcome to be here. But we're going to move on with the next story, and thank you for jumping in. We appreciate it.
Oh gosh, yes. Absolutely. What a great show. What a great opportunity to talk about stuff. As we get into this, we have another clip coming up where there was an AARO briefing at the Pentagon that took place before the hearing. And we have to say, Mike, that there was actually more things discovered or discussed at this hearing or this media call, but that was actually disclosed at the conversation. Those really shows how inadequate and how unprepared she was for this conversation. Let's jump into this piece right now. Here we let's get into this. I think this should work. Here we go.
For those who haven't met me, I am Sue Goff from the Defense Press Operations in the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs. We are here today to hear what Dr. John Kozlowski, the new director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, has to say about AARO's activities and the release today of the unclassified version of their annual report on unidentified anomalous phenomena as required by statute. In a moment, I will turn it over to Dr. Kozlowski to provide opening remarks. Then we will go to Q&A. I will be moderating and calling on you because Dr. Kozlowski, this is his first time with you all. We would appreciate it if you would identify yourself by name and outlet when you ask your question. Please keep it to one question and one follow-up. And if we have more time, then I will circle back. We have about 30 minutes.
What a troll. Let's
Are you
listen to
kidding me?
more.
Did you hear the instructions that she gave? I did, very clearly. Oh, I'm going to be moderating. This is his first time here, like a toddler. And any questions are going to have to go directly through me, and I will then pass it on to him, and then I will give you his response in my own words.
Yes.
Did she really get away with that?
Yes, she did.
Holy shit. That's amazing. I've never seen a hearing conducted like that
This
before.
isn't a hearing. This is prior to the hearing in the briefing that went out to the press. Coming from the beautiful, the wonderful, the Coyote Ugly, Susan Goff. Here we go. Brian, go ahead before we get into this.
Yeah, just real quick. I believe this was on November 4th. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty. I mean, this was. Excuse me.
This is right before her, before Kozlowski went and presented to Kirsten Gillibrand.
Correct. So I apologize. It was one day after the House hearings, November 14th.
Yes.
So they wanted to do a dry run with him to see how he'd do. And they wanted to wait to see what came out in the House hearing. So
bingo. It's all about it's all a waiting game, isn't it, Brian?
Yep. This was a total and Corporal Dave and I talked about this. This was his soft opening, so they could have all the information at hand. It was perfectly timed.
Exactly. Here we go.
Good morning. I'm Dr. John Kozlowski, Director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. It's a pleasure to be here today to introduce myself and to provide an update of the work of our office. As you know, I assumed the AARO directorship in August, following more than 2 decades at the National Security Agency, where I did advanced research in the areas of optics, computing, and cryptomathematics. By nature, I'm drawn to tough scientific problems, which is what brought me to AARO and the UAP mission. Unidentified objects in any domain pose potential threats to safety and security. Reports of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, particularly near national security sites, must be treated seriously and investigated with scientific rigor by the U.S. government. Since becoming director, I've been extremely pleased by AARO's team and the framework they've established for rigorous analysis of UAP reports. AARO has taken meaningful steps to improve data collection and retention, bolster sensor development, effectively triage UAP reports, and reduce the stigma of reporting a UAP event. In the coming year, AARO will prioritize building partnerships, promoting increased transparency, and scaling up the work of the office. This week, the department delivered its fiscal year 2024 consolidated annual report on UAP and had the opportunity to brief congressional staff on the report's findings. As of today, over 1,600 UAP reports, 757 of which, AARO has received over 1,600 UAP reports, over 757 of which came to AARO during the period covered by the report. AARO has successfully resolved hundreds of cases in its holdings to commonplace objects such as balloons, birds, drones, satellites, and aircraft. Meanwhile, over 900...
Again, it's like bringing out swamp gas. They're not supposed to be bringing out swamp gas. They're supposed to be bringing out the truth about UAP.
Reports lack sufficient data for scientific data for analysis and are retained in our active archive. These cases may be reopened and resolved should additional information emerge to support analysis. I want to emphasize that although only a very small percentage of reports to AARO are potentially anomalous, these are the cases that require significant time, resources, and a focused scientific inquiry by AARO and its partners. It is also important to underscore that to date, AARO has discovered no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology. None of the cases...
I just want to bring this up really quick before I call on Rick. They're calling extraterrestrial. We don't know if they're extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, whatever's going on. And by saying there's no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, that is taking it down to a very small percentage of what the possibilities are. You know, we could be dealing with extraterrestrial entities, which, I mean, not extraterrestrial, but ultra-terrestrial or ancient terrestrial entities that have been here for a very long time. Rick Roberts, you have your hand up, my friend?
I was going to say that we just needed to have after this whole smoke show, we just need to have the catastrophic disclosure start taking place. I'm done with just listening to these people. It's just a waste of time. They just want to, give us all this BS. They wanted to seal up all the whistleblowers, seal up all the leaks that are coming from the whistleblowers, have them report to them so they can just stow them away and keep them tied up in paperwork. We got to bring upon the catastrophic disclosure.
Bingo, my friend. Thank you for bringing that up. Syrup, you have your hand up, my friend.
Do you think they refer to them as extraterrestrial on purpose so they don't...
Yes, 100%. Mike, what do you think?
Yes, that was the point you just made, Thomas.
Yes.
Took the words right out of my mouth. They're pigeonholing it to one answer, so all the other answers don't apply, so they don't have to answer you. It's an old tactic.
That's so convenient, man. Okay.
It's a game they play. That's how they get away with this shit for so long.
1,000%, my friend. Let's continue on. Here we go.
Resolved by AARO have pointed to advanced capabilities or breakthrough technologies. It is also worth noting that AARO continues to see a geographic bias of UAP reports near U.S. military assets and sensors. However, this bias has been mitigated somewhat by an increase in commercial pilot reporting in the continental United States. AARO is working closely with the services to implement existing reporting guidance while expanding UAP reporting to more of the interagency. Meanwhile, AARO continues to review the U.S. historical record relating to UAP and will release a second volume of its congressionally directed historical record report. We welcome any former or current government civilian contractor or military service member with relevant information to reach out to us at www.aaro.mil. For every UAP report, operational or historical, AARO will follow the science and data wherever they lead. And we are committed to sharing as much information as possible at the unclassified level to inform the public of our activities and findings. With that, I'll take your questions.
Brandy?
Thanks. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm Brandy Vincent with Defense Scoop. One question on the report and then a follow-up. It noted that the next step for Gremlin, the Gremlin capability, is conducting a 90-day pattern of life collection at a national security site. Where is that going to be? How did you pick that location? And what ultimately are you guys trying to accomplish with that?
So it's currently deployed. We'd rather not say exactly where it is because we want it to be an unbiased test and don't want to invite folks to come and do flyovers and test against the system. We chose that specific location because of the environment. We expect there to be a lot of variety in the types of things that we're going to see, and there have been UAP reports in that general area. And we're trying to build a baseline. So right now we have this geographic bias where we are getting reports near the national security sites, but we also have a bias from pilots and other security personnel. So we want to have a better understanding of what normal looks like near those national security sites. And then eventually we'll be expanding our baseline investigations to other areas in the U.S. to look at what normal looks like away from national security sites.
Cool. And then after the hearing on the Hill yesterday, lawmakers were saying that they are really keen to meet in a skiff with AARO officials, other DoD officials, whistleblowers, and members of Congress. Is that something you've been approached about, have done, or are open to doing?
So we're absolutely open to meeting with everybody. We've been meeting with a variety of folks.
But the question is, Mike, will they go ahead and meet with people under oath? Because remember, their testimony with Kirsten Gillibrand was not under oath. They never were sworn in.
Correct, but we've also pointed out that Dr. James Lakatsky was very clear in saying that under national security, if they were put under oath, they still have the ability to legally lie right through their teeth. So what little would that do even if they were sworn in? Nothing at this point.
Well, that's a good point, Mike. Thanks for bringing that up. Here we go. You always point out the obvious.
From whistleblowers through staffers, and we encourage anybody with direct information to come to us, go to our secure reporting mechanism on the website, and when we get that, we'll reach out to them, schedule a meeting in the skiff, and Congress has enabled us to receive all sensitive information regardless of classification or NDAs they may have signed, and we receive that information and we follow up on every tip that they provide us.
Thank you.
Yep.
Two questions. One, I was wondering if you could talk about whether any analysis or data of reports you have received has led you to the foreign adversary conclusion, specifically the UAS's 18 reports of UAS's spotted near nuclear facilities. And then I was wondering if you could just talk about the effort to increase engagement with foreign partners for a better, a broader array of sensors, data analysis information.
Sure. So, firstly, no, we have not been able to correlate any UAP activity to adversarial collection activities or advanced technologies. I also want to make it clear that UAP covers a lot of potential activity. By its very nature, the definition is in the name, right? So it's unidentified and it's anomalous. Once we know that it's a UAV or a UAS of some nature, we then hand that responsibility off to one of our partners. So Langley being a great example, it was known to be UAV activity, so we were there in a supporting role, but it was not our responsibility.
You mean not UAP activity, but UAS activity?
Correct.
To address that. So those investigations are conducted by somebody else, and we're focusing on the truly anomalous where we don't understand the activity. And then for the foreign engagement, we're working on increasing our foreign engagement. We recognize that UAP is not just going to be a domestic issue. The office has focused primarily on U.S. government, and we're going to be growing to public reporting soon in 2025, and we're going to be growing our international partnerships hopefully also in 2025. So starting with the group that we have the most familiarity with, and then growing that.
Are there any specific countries you can name in terms of who you aim to work with?
We are going to be starting with the traditional allies of the DoD and the IC, and we'll leave it at that for now until we have those partnerships well established, and then we'll probably come out with more information. Yeah.
Nick Schifrin, PBS NewsHour. Thanks very much for doing this. This may be basic and silly, but I just want to read you a quotation from the hearing yesterday and have you respond to it. This is Louis Elizondo, former DoD official. Let me be clear, UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. The U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries.
Wow, this is a great question. Let's see where that goes.
Can you just give us a sense of your perspective on that quotation?
Break that down. So there's a lot in that quotation. Firstly, absolutely agree UAP are real. We, as I said, we've received 1,600 cases. A large number of those are unresolved, which means we don't know exactly what they are. Until we know what they are or who they belong to, we can't attribute intent and understand exactly what the purpose of that phenomenon is. So we're not comfortable, we AARO, not comfortable saying at this time whether or not the UAP are there to collect information or not. In regards to whether or not AARO, U.S. government, or any other government has UAP, we have not found any evidence of that at this time.
But the bottom.
So there's no evidence of any other foreign government have anything close to what a UAP is, Mike.
Yeah, obviously, they're trying to claim that they're looking at anything and everything, but they, in reality, have not divulged any information about this.
No.
He just said that his exact words were that UAP are real, right? That's the statement he just made that we heard? Okay, but what is he acknowledging by saying that? There are unknown objects that we're not identifying? Yeah, that's true. But he's not giving any information as far as what those objects actually are. So he's basically like any other politician out there. He's saying a lot without saying anything at all.
I think I have a good idea what he's saying, Mike.
We ain't found shit. Exactly. That's my point.
Yes, that's where he's at, and that's where AARO's at, my friend.
Line conclusion remains what you said at the top. There's no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial activity.
We have not found any, no. There are definitely anomalies. We have not been able to draw the link to extraterrestrial.
Just to follow up on that, a lot of people read that, saw that hearing. When you said there was no breakthrough technologies, the person seems to be suggesting that, at a minimum, these are breakthrough technologies. What leads you to assume that the UAP cases that you can't resolve are not potentially breakthrough technologies? Or is it that you just haven't been able to conclusively decide either way?
That's exactly right. So we don't fully understand the phenomenon enough to say whether or not it's a breakthrough technology or not. So it's a very small percentage of our overall cases that after the initial analysis still have the anomalous characteristics that one could attribute breakthrough technologies to. It's less than 3.5% of our cases. And we're still studying those with our IC and S&T partners, trying to understand what technologies could be used to provide those characteristics, but we don't understand them well enough to say whether it's a breakthrough technology, a misunderstanding of the sensor performance, or something else.
A skeptic might say that, if you just because you can't explain it isn't a reason to assume that it's not a breakthrough technology, or by definition, breakthrough technology would be something that you don't have. If you don't have it, you can't explain, right?
Agreed, 100%. So we're not ruling it out. We're open to that as an explanation for it, but we're just not attributing breakthrough technology as the explanation to it. An open mind works both ways. So if we don't understand what it is, we can't say that it is or is not breakthrough technology. So we're just trying to keep an open mind.
It's not a catch-22.
Right. Yeah. We accept that the explanation could be a misunderstanding of ours in interpreting the data, or it could be a breakthrough technology. Until we understand, we don't know.
Thank you, Rajas, for the help. Have you found anything that might be a breakthrough technology? I know you're saying you don't know if there are breakthroughs yet, but something that might be a breakthrough technology near the military sites, some of those sightings you've seen near the military sites, have you found anything that might be that, or have they all just been drones and UAS?
Definitely not all just drones and UAS. So we have several particularly interesting cases. We're working on...
So that's a point, Mike. He's actually saying it's not just drones and UAS.
I have a feeling that the reason he said that was because of his involvement back at the UAP task force.
Yeah.
So he has enough information on his own outside of this new AARO office he's running to not publicly make a statement that would contradict the work that he did previously. Correct. Because if he did that, it would discredit him and his credibility.
That is true. Let's continue on.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And within the office, working with our partners to downgrade several of those cases so we can talk about them publicly. But there are interesting cases that my physics and engineering background and time in the IC, I do not understand. And I don't know anybody else who understands them either.
But those near military sites and facilities?
Until we get the information approved for release, I'd rather not say where those sightings were, but definitely interesting sightings.
Not willing to say where those sightings were because Susan Goff is right behind him, right, Mike?
He's holding the leash very tightly.
Oh, God, yeah, really freaking tight. What a troll she is. What a troll.
ABC News. Thank you for doing this and welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Yes. I'd like to follow up on the earlier question about incidents you cannot explain based on your broad experience. A couple of follow-ups on that, please. Were these all within the last year? Were these all at the same location? Were you looking at video evidence, or what are the metrics that you're looking at that you cannot explain?
Good questions.
Great question. So of the cases that I'm thinking of, there's a variety of them. The cases that are top of my mind are spread out over the last year and a half. I'm sure that there's some other anomalous ones a little further back, but the ones that I'm particularly most interested in, last year and a half, there is some video footage for a few of the cases, not all of the cases. So it's not just eyewitnesses. But in each of the cases I'm particularly interested in, there were multiple eyewitnesses, and there is additional data to go with them. It remains to be seen whether or not that additional data is going to be sufficient for us to either resolve the case, understand whether it's a UAV, bird, or balloon, or say something substantive about the nature of the unknown phenomenon. So we're still trying to understand whether or not there's more data available, because we get the data that comes in from the witnesses, but we also go through a bunch of other sources. Whether or not we can enrich the data that was brought to us and then build a better case.
And what are some of the characteristics, or is there a trend among these things? And are they extended period incidents, or are they very, very quick?
In each of these cases, they were not extended. The cases that I'm thinking of, there was no commonality across the different cases, different morphologies, so orbs, cylinders, triangles. In one of the cases, it has been happening over an extended period of time, and it is possible that there's multiple things happening. There could be some UAV activity in the environment that's getting confused or conflated with the UAP activity, so we're trying to tease that out right now.
And just to clarify, earlier you said Langley was UAVs. The Langley incidents would not be among what you described?
Correct.
Constantine?
Thanks. Constantine Torben, military.com. So one of the sort of key criticisms, I think, around this issue from the hearing yesterday was government transparency, lack of government transparency. I mean, can you sort of speak to that critique and whether you feel that AARO is being overly secretive, if you guys are working on being more transparent, sort of address this criticism from the Hill that you guys are emblematic of a government that overly classifies everything?
Yeah, it's an understandable concern, and make a comment. My wife would like me to share more about the UAP incidents too, but I guess it's on the record now. So the fundamental issue is that AARO receives cases from our partners. And in most cases to date, because we've been working through the services, those partners are providing data that is gathered from sensitive platforms, and we need to make sure that we're protecting the sensitive sources methods, not introducing vulnerabilities to their operations. So even though that there's nothing inherently classified about the existence of a UAP, we have to protect that information. When AARO receives those interesting cases, the cases that we're just briefly talking about, we try to identify if the UAP information can be isolated from the sensitive, usually it's metadata that identifies characteristics of the platform. And we work to downgrade that material as much as we can. But we can't do it unilaterally. It has to be in partnership with the folks that brought that information. That is a very deliberate process, as you can imagine, to make sure that we're not releasing sensitive information. So we have taken significant steps to speed that up. We've hired a number of declassification experts. We're going to be hosting a declassification.
But Mike, I have to say that the ability to go ahead and declassify information is going to come down to the Director of National Intelligence and what the declassification guidelines are set as, correct?
100% correct.
Yeah.
And the information, he's blowing smoke up their ass with those answers. You know that.
Yeah.
But what he also said...
I'd say his head is so far up his ass that he can see daylight, just saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he made a comment about they're looking for whistleblowers to come forward to AARO. But what he failed to explain further and put that into context is that anybody that goes and gives a statement directly to AARO, that person, their claims and their statement is then wrapped up and exempt from FOIA under the 7A exemption.
Not
for law
only
enforcement.
that, they are then prevented from going ahead and disclosing this to anybody else and doubling down on the NDAs that they were already under. So they may have been under NDAs to go ahead and prevent them from talking about this in the first place. But then talking to AARO, they're actually put under new and updated NDAs. And I believe AARO is actually contracted from an organization who specializes in locking people down from telling the truth. Am I correct or am I wrong
No,
on
you're
this?
100% right on that. It's the Department of Defense. And this is that's how they're covering up and getting all of these people to go silent and not speak publicly.
Yeah.
So we're watching that unfold before our very eyes.
Yep.
The
And that's
process
why
that they're
people
using.
have been very hesitant to go ahead and bring out the truth. There are, granted, there have been 2 people who have come forward to talk about this stuff. Those people who have come forward, they've been locked down in double jeopardy to prevent them from ever bringing their truth forward, that when they talk to AARO, from actually getting this out to the actual general public. So by going to AARO, they have actually been stalwarted in their activities to try and bring out the truth.
Yeah, they're locking these people and access to the public down legally.
So realistically, if you are someone out there who's watching this show who has seen things, this is a situation where don't bring out the truth to AARO, because if you do, you're going to be locked down to prevent you from saying this to anybody else. It's a shitty situation, but just shows how crooked our current administration has been from a long standing. But what chance we have of bringing out the truth from potentially President number 47.
Hopefully. That's right now.
Fingers crossed, Mike. Fingers crossed. That's all we can do at this point.
No, you're right. And it seems like it's the closest we may come in 77 years to getting a hint of the truth.
All right.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, as long as it's not on your face, I think we'll be good, Mike.
Exactly. Workshop, so we can make sure we're implementing best practices from across the DoD and the IC. All of that takes more time than I think the public would like for it to take, but AARO is working on it. We recognize that the types of cases that I was just talking about are, from my perspective, true anomalies, and we're going to need significant scientific rigor to address those. And yes, the U.S. government has a lot of nice scientists, a little biased there, but we're going to need the help of academia and the public to address some of these. So we need to build that more transparent partnership.
And just to follow up, sort of on the flip side, is there any, as you look at cases to release, for example, you talked about how at least one of the interesting ones is sort of ongoing. Is there a world where you hold back release out of fear of drawing more reports, sort of drawing attention to a location and getting copycats or, what have you, sort of muddying the data?
Yeah, so that concern has been raised to us because bad data in gets bad analysis out. However, no data in gets no analysis out. And so being an NSA guy, I'm a firm believer in big data is going to lead to better conclusions. And I would rather have to filter out some of those copycat cases, but have more substantive data. If we're looking for a needle in a haystack, I'd rather have multiple haystacks to go digging through rather than just one.
Thank you.
Brandon? Just one quick follow-up. I'm sorry if I've missed it before, but what is AARO or your definition for breakthrough technology?
So lots of people, lots of organizations have different definitions, and the working definition that we've been using informally inside of our office, and we are working on more formal definitions for the different domains, for space, the air domain, and the undersea domain. But the general definition is beyond state-of-the-art today and beyond where we think that we could get in the next couple of years.
Well, it's not just beyond that, it's beyond the capabilities of the human race currently on this planet. Not just more than a couple of years out. We're talking about ever. Period. We're talking about technologies that cannot be replicated based on the human technology timeline. Does that explain it well, Mike?
It does, because then the point is that it would have to be something that is not, that's 10 or 20 years out. It's something that defies our understanding of the laws of physics and nature.
Yeah.
But then AARO, you're never going to hear an answer like that come from AARO.
No,
ever.
Never. And just for that point, I do have to take meds every day like many people. And I wouldn't be surprised if other people out there have to do the same. Mike, do you have to take a pill every day?
Of course. We all do.
Oh, we all do. Exactly. Let's continue on.
So we keep an eye on the capabilities of ourselves, our partners, and everyone else at the academic and the very technical level. And then if it's beyond that, then we would say that's breakthrough technology.
Just a quick follow-up on your answer to Constantine. So if you need to, I guess a lot of Americans have this view of the government as kind of all-knowing and being able to ascertain everything, particularly when I think of NSA and other agencies. And so I guess if you could help us explain to readers, what is it about these phenomena that reach the limits of government, of the understanding of the professionals in the government, and why it would be necessary to bring in academics? That'd be helpful for us.
Great question. So following up Brandy's question, if it's a breakthrough technology, by its very nature, we don't know how it would be done, right? If we knew how to do it, we'd be doing it already and it wouldn't be a breakthrough technology. And so usually those breakthroughs are coming from the academics. Historically, either in science or engineering, the breakthroughs come from academia, and then they go into industry, and then they come into government. The government's employing a lot of scientists like myself and others who understand a fair amount about the science, but being able to extend that to something that we could not have imagined when we were in school or when we were in training is a very difficult process. And so we're going to have to pull in those folks that they spend all day, every day, just thinking of what is the next possible thing that you could do if you were just to tweak the equations a little bit this way or change the material a little bit that way. And the government, because of our day jobs, we don't get to spend all day, every day doing that as much as I would like to.
Just two small clarifications. So the what you called interesting cases at the beginning, and then Louis asked you more specific, spread out over the last year and a half. Just to be clear, those are cases that we don't know about, right? Meaning we have not read about these cases that you're speaking about.
Correct.
You said to Louis, one of the cases has been happening over an extended period of time. I think Constantine said ongoing. Just to be clear, that is ongoing, or was it just happening over an extended period of time? And you're not saying whether it's
extended period of time. It may be ongoing, but we don't know if the current activity is just drone activity in the environment. And so we're trying to follow up on that. We had put more energy into it earlier on.
For reference, when there are incidents that are going on, AARO is supposed to have a team, according to his original charter, to go ahead and send out scientists and data collection utilities to go ahead and actually observe these things when it's going on. So for AARO to put their hands up in the air and saying, oh, we don't know what's going on, these things are happening, we don't have any answers, AARO was supposed to be funded to go ahead and release this information, send out people to figure out what's going on. So this is just yet another bullshit excuse coming from John Kozlowski. Let's continue.
Something cleared up, now we're checking on it.
Okay.
Ellie, CBS, just follow up on the interesting cases. Are the interesting cases that you're talking about the 21 cases that merit further analysis, or are they part of the active archive?
They're part of the 21,
okay.
Yeah, that merit. So the active archive, just so that we're clear, those are cases where we don't have enough scientific data to continue the analysis. We're always looking for more. And then when we do, we'll pull those into the merit more analysis.
Okay. Last year's report in the time frame had 281 new, I believe, incidents. Now you have 485. What do we owe this really large increase to?
So the new incidents, I think, to be clear, this
because I think in your report here you talk about a total of 757 in the period of the reporting period, of which 485 were from this year, and then the remainder were from previous.
Yes.
But then in last year's report, which was from, and I'm looking at my notes here.
Why the ramp up in reporting?
Yeah, I mean, an additional 200, I mean, in the same reporting period.
Engagement.
Yes.
So we have the Gen Admin out. We're engaged with the services. We're engaging more with the services, helping them understand what qualifies as a UAP, how to report it, and we're getting more reports of the anomalous activity. It's not that we don't believe that there's necessarily more anomalous activity. It's just we're getting greater reporting. And we expect, as we continue that engagement with the services, but also across the IC and the rest of the government, to the question earlier, we're going to see that reporting go up as well. We're going to follow that with education campaigns so that, for example, the FAA is providing us reports now as well, so we're getting reports from the pilots. Some of the reports from the pilots are Starlink flares, so light glinting off of satellites at just the right time of the evening. It looks interesting and potentially anomalous. But we can model that, we can show pilots what that anomaly looks like so that that doesn't get reported to us necessarily. So we're going to follow up the engagement campaigns with education campaigns so that as we're increasing the number of accounts that come to us, we're not just getting more of the noise and trying to keep it focused on the interesting.
Just a very quick question on the active archive. Do you have an instance or instances where you have gotten more information for an event in the active archive and have pulled it out, or is that?
Thank you for asking. We do. Yes. Yes, we do. So it actually was the instance that I'm most familiar with was a Starlink instance. So we had several folks over the period, I think it was multiple months, were seeing interesting activity in the sky. And we found that because we're continuously looking back at that active archive and looking for correlations across those incidents, but also new incidents coming in, we found some of those correlations in time, the direction that they were looking, and the location, and we were able to assess that they were all, in those cases, looking at Starlink flares. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
How many
Starlink. It's a new word for swamp gas, Mike.
Oh, it is, Thomas. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. They seem to be using every trick in the book. Kozlowski is pretty good at this job, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
He learns fast. Unbelievable that this is continuing to go on like this. That's all right. Look,
yeah,
there's going to be a new administration in a few weeks, 2 months' time. We'll see what happens to him and this department, AARO, at that point.
We're going to have to, Mike, but it's that time. If you look at the clock, we're at the end of the show. My God, what a great show. What a great opportunity to hang out with friends. We had a bunch of great super chats coming in from Eric Roth and the Gurus, Brian Pemble, Liz W., Necessary Dialogue, myself, and of course, Faiswell. Wow, Mike, what a great show. What a great opportunity to hang out on a Friday night and talk about UFO disclosure.
It was a lot of fun. It was a great conversation, and we covered what's going on for the week.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about.
Oh, we definitely did. We definitely did. And as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone. But we'll catch you in the flip side. And everybody, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.